talk
Cool.
about John's nudes till like 20 minutes in. So this
We're ahead of schedule.
we don't.
No, we have a
start-
capture the flag, which is how fast can we get demonetized
But-
every show.
By the way, did you see that article about CTFs and bug bounty programs? And how
Yeah.
they're fucking cratering everywhere.
I can.
Yeah.
The B-side San Diego CTF 1 and 2 were both won by AI.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And the only one they didn't get was where you had to call a phone number.
Yeah.
And nobody told us. Right. No one told us that literally the dude was just sitting in the middle of the room letting the AI do everything. He didn't even, and they were watching him. And I'm like, why did no one come tell us or like say anything? Like, you guys let him win. I don't know what to tell you. Like,
I was talking to Roman at the last like Tampa CTF they did, and he totally was like, yeah, it's like I think the last team was pure AI. They just had a bot and an agent and stuff. So like CTFs are it's a whole new world of like how you buy that.
Probably
system.
take that one off the resume. But those black badges are still good, right? That can pay for my $200 a month Claude subscription.
Yes. And then I was like, well, you could make it like really hard where you have to spend a lot of tokens, but then some people are just using their like company's tokens. Like they don't.
That may not be a bad idea. How could we embed in some of these challenges something that like forks the AI off to just burn a ton?
Oh, yes, we can do that, and we should.
The answer is somewhere on a Wikipedia page. You must crawl every Wikipedia page.
Oh my God.
You must distill all knowledge, human knowledge from Wikipedia into one system prompt, and then include that in every system prompt that you send.
Why don't just prompt inject them the whole entire way through the CTF?
Yes, 100%.
You start, hacking them, and they don't even realize it. Right? They're like, holy crap.
We just inflate the context. Every time you have a context, inflate above the maximum context size. I could see it. Yeah. All right. Are we doing this show? Is everyone ready? Do people feel ready?
I didn't even know we were live.
Ready as we're going to get.
I guess we're live. Let's roll the finger. Let's do this.
Okay, let's go.
Hi, John. How's it going?
You want me to? You go it. You take it, man.
You do it.
I
just like that you got put on the spot, and you really had the right pace for it, which was like, really?
Yeah, I'll do it. Hello and welcome to another edition of Black Hills Information Security, talking about news, the show where we talk about the end of Western and Eastern civilization extensively, and sometimes we talk about computer security. We've got a usual cast of characters. We also have Shane. Say hi, Shane. Great to have you with us on as well. But it's been kind of a slow week in news. I don't think that there's been many new...
How many 0 days do you need, John? How many 0 days? Listen, there's 2 hot, spicy 0 days, and you're just going to say it's a slow week?
Bring it up.
Mythos must have been sleeping this week.
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, Mythos was sleeping, but it found one vulnerability in curl, so it was like kind of a little bit awake. I guess we could talk about that first. Let's start with de-hyping Mythos. The creator of curls published this super fun blog post, basically walking through his personal process that he followed with getting access to Mythos and the results he got back. And basically it came down to one thing, which he didn't announce specifically what it is, but it's going to be fixed in the next patch for curl, and it doesn't sound super concerning, at least not from his perspective.
It's weird you get this, and by the way, the article was great, and I liked how he's like, the results were meh, whatever. And then you have Firefox and Mozilla coming out, and they're basically like, it found hundreds, and it was amazing. And you always say the truth is somewhere in between, and I understand that curl is probably a smaller project, maybe tighter knit code, possibly. I don't know. Curl's been around.
Curl's not that big. I mean, all it does is download things. I don't understand how it would be that big.
Okay, but there are a couple of interesting.
Give me some of those flags that really make it magical.
Here's the interesting tidbits. First of all, they have fixed. It's over 178 lines, or 178,000 lines of code, which is way more than I would have guessed. It's written in C, not in Rust, so you'd think it'd just be full of 0 days because it's not Rust.
Well, that's true.
But it's basically there have been 188 CVEs in curl, and I don't think they've really added much in the way of features. So it's really just, it's kind of the ideal situation for open source tools, which is you just have them burned for years and years and years, and then they become really hardened.
Well, the other thing to remember about curl is it's kind of what Ralph said. It's downloading data, right? Like you got a bunch of options for a number of different services that you can use, but it's not actually doing protocol parsing, right? Like if you compare this to something like Wireshark is a good example where it's doing tons of protocol parsing. That's where your vulnerability in your attack space is going to come into play with this. So and not all that surprised because it's not all that complicated. And I know that people are like, no, there's all these amazing things you can do with curl. And I don't disagree with that, but it's not analyzing the data as it's processing and looking for strings or anything.
It's such a simple application. Does it have a lot of great purposes? Yes. All right. And like, I'm not saying I don't think curl is cool. I use it all the time, or whatever, or wget, or whatever the thing you want to do to download stuff or check something. But other than that, though, I think, what is it? Curl's got 178,000 lines of code, and Firefox has 21 million. It's 118 times larger code base because it does so many more things.
Which if you do the math, that's kind of in the same space of the number of critical vulnerabilities that were discovered.
Yeah.
The other fun Easter egg in this article is that it's installed over 20 billion times.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. Like you can install any Linux distro and accidentally get curl.
That's insane. It says it runs in every smartphone, tablet, car, TV, game console, and server on Earth. What a badass thing to be able to just say.
What is life?
That'd be nice.
So the other there's multiple 0 days, not more than, I mean, I guess technically that's not really a 0 day because
they're just exploits, vulnerabilities that have been released.
Yeah, but that's de-hyping Mythos. There was also a 0 day. There was a really interesting Google threat intelligence report from last week on. I mean, they don't disclose what it was. I'm assuming it was like cPanel or something like that. I mean, we've seen cPanel get abused hard in the last couple weeks, but basically someone coded up using Gemini, or maybe not Gemini, a 0 day for a popular open source web admin framework panel or whatever.
Yeah.
cPanel. It could be cPanel, PHP MyAdmin, I don't know, who knows. But basically an MFA bypass that comes from a business logic flaw. It seems like AI is really, really good at business logic flaws, and which is cool because they're kind of tricky for a human. And I don't know. It's a spicy, interesting article. A really good threat intel report from Google, as always. I also thought it was interesting, like, that this, it wasn't, again, it's like, this is what I've been harping, like my clients keep asking me. It's like, you don't need Mythos to party. You just don't. You can party with what we have now. You can find business logic flaws with, whatever crappy model you have sitting around in your garage.
Well, Corey, this gets into the conversation that I've been having with D-Rock, kind of the CTO of BHIS. And the thing that we're trying to get our head around is, I believe fundamentally that in the next 8 months, the price of doing anything with AI is going to start going up, right? If you're looking at Anthropic, we've talked about it on the show, OpenAI, they can't continue to lose money on what they're doing, right? They're going to follow the Uber model where they're going to be cheap, get everyone to use it, and then start raising the prices. So we're starting to, really try to price out and continue to build what we have for infrastructure here in the office. Like we're moving our entire power panel. We're upgrading right now to a 400 amp circuit. So it can support the level of servers that we need. Because we already have all of our password cracking rigs and all of that shit we're running, but AI is going to add another load, and then I got to add in a bunch more cooling. And my theory is that running on-prem is going to be cheaper than continuing to run this in the cloud. And anybody that's looking at this, I think honestly, your AI bill is going to double probably by the end of this year. So we want to get in quick, get the equipment, and this webcast is not helping me with that. But
I had a huge long discussion with AI about this, and basically its pitch is essentially. So first of all, I didn't know this, but it's actually kind of interesting. Anthropic is predicting that they're going to become profitable in 2027, which is kind of unique. OpenAI says 2030, which I feel like OpenAI's case is a lot less likely to be true than Anthropic.
But that makes
most
sense
people pay for Anthropic.
But OpenAI's new user subscriptions have flatlined, right? And Anthropic.
Well, also they have a free product. That's like where they kind of screwed up, is they competed on that. Basically, the AI summary of this was essentially, for people who don't pay for AI. For free users, nothing really changes. For the uber high end of AI users is where they get hurt, and what you're talking
So
about applies, like the power users.
And that's where we have to start looking at it as a firm that's doing defense and offense is what level do we need for which tasks? Because right now, if we're tracking what people are doing at BHIS, almost everybody goes to the latest, greatest, most expensive model, right? For everything. So we really have to start saying, okay, what are we going to be doing and running our own models hosted? Do we want to get the little NVIDIA or like, this little boxes that they can run their own?
TGX Spark.
Yeah, the Sparks and getting those for the employees. Like people are going to have to start seriously looking at what level of AI firepower do you need for what task, because you're going to have to start addressing your costs here shortly.
The answer is not
we should
much.
be doing that anyway. We should be doing that anyway.
We are.
Because
we are.
it's just
Anthropic is very they're very enterprise focused. Like they released last week, like their email show. A lot of you saw it, but they're going to start restricting what you can use your subscription for. So anything that is basically not Claude Code or Claude Desktop, they're going to give you a monthly credit to use those things for. And that seems like, oh, this is great or okay for the user until you realize, like in the SOC, we use a lot of GitHub workflows, and those have just been on an account. But now, once you reach that threshold of $100 or $200 a month, those all are going to hit API cost. So we had to go figure out, how do we do logging on GitHub workflows? How do we measure? So we had to very quickly go determine which of these workflows cost
But
what.
you don't need
'Cause
Opus to do that stuff.
You
No.
don't. You don't.
Yeah.
Exactly. You don't. And that's like, but you're inclined to, because it's the best. And Anthropic is like, they are very much the enterprise provider. Like ChatGPT wants to be
the B2B one, yeah.
Exactly.
The
They want to be,
Kleenex
hey, come
versus
use our
the-
platform. We'll do a good
the
job. Like,
VHS
don't
versus
worry.
the
We'll give you
Betamax.
we'll give you
Pulling
plenty of
it-
quota.
But pulling it back to this news story,
Yeah.
it's just like Corey said, you don't need Mythos.
no.
Right?
No.
To do the security research that people are freaking out about, right? It's unnecessary for a lot of the different activities.
Half the time, I'm just like, hey, could you push this for me? Because I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I would do that every time.
Lazy, Ralph.
No.
That's so
Can you help me
Every
get?
time.
I can't get.
Come on.
Shane,
How many
you've been
times?
quiet.
How many
You're our
times have I
guest.
said?
Yeah.
How
Shane,
many
you're our
times have I
guest.
said?
Oh, I was going to
Yeah.
get Shane's take because he's our guest and we're all talking over him. And I'd like to get his take because he's presenting at our threat hunting summit. And we're super excited to have you at our threat hunting summit that's coming up June-ish 17th.
Mid-June.
Mid-June, June 17th. We'll go with that.
Midsummer Festival.
Yeah. We're going to all dress up like Ren Fair. But go ahead, Shane.
If you want to stick to the article side, even Jensen Huang in his keynote was talking about that tokenization is going to be one of the things for new employees. You're going to get a token balance as part of your negotiation on there. That's kind of how his presence is.
I like
But I
that
agree with you
idea.
that I think it's going to come in. It's going to come local. Why not? It's easy. It's not hard to bring a local model in on your machine. Most of the newer Macs run them without too much trouble. And then you can even use agency to run different models for different things automatically through just regular agents. You don't have to have the latest agent or latest model to run if you need to do parsing of a log file. And on top of that, you got the security consequences. You don't want especially in IR and security, you don't want that stuff being repositioned in models out there. You can have that stuff all local and you can actually triage it and keep it secure.
Yeah, and if you have a solid like custom agent that you can utilize for this stuff, you can like enforce it to delegate to the lower tier models, and that's the best way to save on costs. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the, like a couple of other super interesting things I learned from my deep dive was, if you look at agentic chaining, like if you look at like, okay, an agent creates a chain of tasks, because of how AI works, if you chain too many tasks, no matter how good the model is, it'll fail like 50% of the time. So like in the research I was looking at, if you chain like 6 tasks, by the 6th thing, it's like a 50% failure rate. And so it's like using a fancy model doesn't save you. You could be using a cheap model instead. And basically it's you're better off defining super specific success and failure conditions and then passing it off to cheaper, simpler models versus like every agent is Opus and it says, do this high level task and chain as necessary to accomplish it. You're going to have failures along the way, no matter what, if you use that approach.
Cool. So do we want to move on and talk about the downfall of bug bounty programs and CTFs?
We could. That's a
It's
fun.
all-
That's
it's all-
essentially just
compendium.
talking about AI more.
It's
Yeah,
all
I was going
AI.
to say, continue the AI podcast.
Hey, let's not bitch about that. Okay, let's be clear. If we go back 2 years ago, it was ransomware story after ransomware
you're
story.
right.
Very
I
true.
mean,
Very
I,
true.
for one,
You're not wrong.
I like the change of pace, but this was an interesting take for somebody that works on bug bounty programs, Shubs. And basically, they were talking about how they did a lot of bug bounty programs, and specifically, I think for Uber, they've been doing it for over 10 years. And right now, a lot of the bug bounty programs, and I've heard this from a number of other people, are overwhelmed and literally shutting down submissions. And this, I think, ties into the Linus Torvalds article that comes
Yeah.
up right after this
Yeah,
one,
very much.
where these companies, like, I don't know how bug bounty programs, like, how do you survive in the age of AI? And it's funny because some of their solution is to use AI to evaluate submissions that are from AI.
It's the only option. That's
It's the
It's
only
always
option.
fight AI
Really
with AI.
Fire with
And-
fire.
And I thought it was an interesting article. I want to talk about the bug bounty aspect, and then I want to move to the CTF aspect. So what are your takes on, like, bug bounties? Because this looks bad from the outside. I still think the bug bounty should be considered to be a viable product, but I don't think that there's a sacred fire that only bug bounty programs have anymore. Like, basically, Prometheus has come down. Fire is everywhere, right? Like, we literally have AI security research doing things at a pretty high level that anybody with a competent level of technology capabilities can do. And what does that do to the bug bounty program space? So, and I've got another take, but I wanted to get you guys' takes on that before I give my
I
take.
think this is just alarmism from bug bounty hunters being basically it's them being like, we're not getting paid. This sucks. Which is fair. Like, okay, that's fair. Like, okay, guess what? If you're submitting a bug bounty right now, it's not going to get processed very quickly because there's 18 million others in the queue with you. Like, it's kind of like job hunting right now. You're going to get hit by AI and like it's going to be like auto rejecting you for having a, weird prompt injection in your resume or whatever. Like, it is what it is. But if I was on the other side of bug bounty, meaning I'm paying HackerOne to get bug reports, I want to see all those reports. I mean, I want you to triage them and tell me which ones are BS slop and which ones aren't, but I still want to
Yeah,
see
see,
those
that's-
reports. I want to see those vulnerabilities, right? Like, that's not going away, is it? I don't think it is.
I don't think it's just the vulnerabilities that are ramping, right? It's just that submissions themselves are easily created, right?
it's both,
Just the
right?
reports.
It's both.
And you can no longer tell with the trash reports from the good reports because
now-
AI is writing all of them.
I think we're going to
Yeah.
come to that. I think Linus Torvalds has a really good solution, and we'll talk about that next. But you're right. So,
Yeah.
all right.
Okay. Well, that's all I had to say.
Well, and at the risk of pulling Cassandra, I've been saying for many months now that AI was going to accelerate and amplify all of the problems that we already had, in addition to introducing new problems.
It's just like
And-
getting old.
Yeah, tell me about it. But
You're not.
it basically
You're
is doing
fabulous,
exactly
Bronwyn.
that. And it's doing it in multiple spaces. Come on, it's doing it not only in cybersecurity with all kinds of things, but the bug bounty programs are another example.
Yep.
The amount of submissions has gone up. The value of the submissions has become a huge question mark, much more than it was. And yeah, the only way to churn through all of those submissions is going to be to use AI.
Open source projects have the same problem now, is they have
Yes.
so many PRs that they cannot go through them, and a lot of them are crap. But I'm sure there's some decent ones buried in there, but they just don't have the ability to filter through that much PRs. Like, reviewing one code review kind of sucks because you got to go through and read 2,000 lines of someone else's code. But now you have 600 in your queue because some guy pointed Claude at it for the afternoon.
Yeah.
I said, "Hey, we got some excess
it's-
usage. Go for it."
Basically, like, it's also really funny because in the bug bounty post, he the creator Shug or whatever his name is, Shug, I don't know. He's very self-aware where he's like, I don't like it because it breaks the ADHD loop that I rely on for bug bounty hunting. Which is totally fair. And honestly, like, what's the solution? Just be patient. Just be patient. Like, guys, these HackerOne will not go away overnight because it got AI submissions. Like, every other platform on the planet is dealing with slop. There's AI slop on Spotify. There's AI slop on YouTube. There's AI, this is everywhere, and it's not like anyone's like, oh, I can't watch YouTube anymore because it's all AI slop. Like they've figured out how to moderate and have their algorithms, and you will too.
But I want to throw this out there. Like, I love this because it's highlighting that pen testing was never really about just finding vulnerabilities, right? I think that there were a lot of firms that tried to couch it in like, we're lead hackers, and we're going to hack your stuff better than any people can ever hack your stuff. And really, the firms that are successful and the firms that do a good job are the firms that can take the vulnerabilities and they can communicate it effectively to the customers, not just as an Easter egg hunt of here's 400 cross-site scripting vulnerabilities, but saying you have a cross-site scripting issue in your development lifecycle process that needs to be systematically addressed. You have a policy process procedure failing that is missing as far as like, let's say, change management and vulnerability analysis, right? Like pen testing never was and should have never been about I'm finding hacks. It should always be about how do we communicate vis-a-vis the customer and what are we like communicating with them to help them prioritize and really moving forward over the next year. And I'm going to talk about this on Thursday, compensating controls. There's going to be vulnerabilities that our customers are going to say, we cannot fix this. And your pen testing firm should be able to sit down with you and say, okay, here's what we can put in place as a compensating control to address this vulnerability until a patch or something else comes out. But, like I said, good firms do this, right? And I'm going to throw a shout out to sister pen testing company, TrustedSec, right? We bounce customers back and forth all the time. And the reason why is because we know after we've tested someone for 3 years, they go to another good firm like TrustedSec or Secure Ideas or Tim over at Red Siege. There's a whole bunch of different firms that are great. And they have that type of approach where they're not just saying, here's all the findings, here's all the hacks, give us money.
Yep. Does anyone have another take on this? For me, it's like they'll figure it out. Just be patient, bug bounty hunters. You're going to get faster. You're going to get paid more. It's just going to take longer. I think the only thing to call out is temporary. In the meantime, people will get sick of waiting, and they'll publish stuff. Right? Like that's the biggest problem.
There's a part of that where if that's someone's career, though, that could very well for them derail things. If your career is as a bug bounty hunter, right?
Yes,
I think it's just that, but going with the CTFs, going like certainly into the CTF stuff, right? We rely on usually your GitHub or any type of repo is a more foundation for your credibility, right?
Yeah. That's out the door now.
Within the element, right? Yeah. So nowadays, like even if you did do a CTF or you write all these blog posts and you have all this stuff in your GitHub, like you could theoretically just make it all with Claude. You just have a scheduled task to make you a blog post every day, which kind of sucks.
But the problem is your writing sample didn't get any better.
Yeah, people are going to be, if they're using their brains, then they're going to look at how much time went past before all of these submissions were made. Because, I mean, a human can only do so much in a given period of time.
That is true.
Going to have something else. Now,
I agree, but look at like
prediction though. I'm going to make a general prediction about AI.
Everyone, Bronwyn's going to learn us stuff.
Because I went through a lot of this when the web went mainstream, and I'm seeing a lot of the same patterns in terms of early adoption that just sucks ass big time. And yes, add to the cookie jar. But over time, people figure it out. And I'm looking at the patterns that I'm seeing in reading lots of stuff from lots of different industries. Companies who fired a lot of people claiming AI, if they weren't actually just firing humans to make more money to spend on AI, and they actually thought seriously that AI could replace the humans, they're finding out the hard way. They're learning the painful lesson. No, AI in its current state can only do tasks. It cannot do jobs. It cannot multitask the way that a human can. It cannot identify what the value is about a certain finding or vulnerability or issue. And God knows it cannot make moral judgment.
Yep.
That's great. The thing is, in the long run, human output will increase in value as people see that the craft, the quality, and the insight is deeper. No AI could ever write Left Hand of Darkness or The Sun Also Rises. And the same thing is true going forward. And it's just going to take time for us to wait out the tech bros in Silicon Valley for them to get a clue and stop shoving bad AI down all of our collective throats. I'm out.
I just know that Anthropic is like challenge accepted. Left Hand of Darkness Part 2 coming.
Right Hand of Darkness?
Yeah.
What?
Right Hand of Darkness. So
Yeah,
no, I agree
yeah.
110%. I do. And that gets into like the webcast, and I don't want to get too much into that. But I do want to address, we talked about it before the show, but I want to bring it up here. And this actually concerns me far more than a lot of what we've talked about, CTFs. You go to conferences, and capture the flag is a big part of conferences. You know, we love hiring people that do really good at capture the flags. And it's a great delineator between somebody who can just do a multiple guess test to hands-on CTF challenges. And this scares me, right? Like AI is really, really good at doing capture the flags because there's lots of capture the flags to fuel it online. And I want to get your takes. Like, how do we deal with this to make CTFs fun and gauging the knowledge of people and not just having slop coming in all the time?
So
I have a take. Ralph,
Yeah,
you have
me
a take?
too.
yeah,
Go
I mean,
ahead.
because I thought a lot about this when I talked to Roman about like how to like hack CTFs where they weren't as easy to hack with AI. But then I just realized that like maybe the whole thing was like a CTF is like it's two things, right? It's learning skills, and it's also learning ways to maybe solve a problem that isn't known, right? And that
Yes.
really gets into the the unknown piece of it. And if you can solve it with AI, I feel like that's kind of a valid way to attack it, right?
Totally.
And so
Yep.
the flip side of that is, how do I create a problem that is not AI resistant, but just like built to fight this war? You're kind of like saying like you can't have AI, but in your business you're totally going to need AI. So like where do we draw
It
that
would be
line?
unrealistic to say
Yeah.
no AI. That's
Yeah.
not a real option. Yeah. Okay. So I
Yeah.
totally agree. And here's my take. I'm curious if people agree or disagree with this. I think the concept of banning AI or having an AI-free CTF is pointless. At that point, CTFs are completely diverging from reality. If we're looking at, like, I'm looking at my team of 12 pen testers, they aren't doing things differently. They're just more efficient and beasts with AI, right? Like AI isn't making us, it's not making our jobs easier. It's making our jobs harder because we're finding more things and we're being more thorough and we're digging in deeper than we would have before. Last week, I had an AI bypass a WAF. I'm not doing that. I don't know how to freaking bypass a WAF. It like things like that. I would have just given up and AI is going to go deeper. Um, I think CTFs are just going to have to get harder. That's basically what it comes down to. CTFs have to get hard enough that if you're using Claude skills, they aren't just easy mode. Like that's basically what it comes down to. I do also think and like environments have to get more complex, chains have to get deeper. Like it's kind of, use AI to build the challenges and they'll get harder. I also do think there are some really fun ways to think about how you could make an AI resistant challenge. And there are some ways that LLMs think that is inherently broken. And you can exploit that to make a challenge that a human could easily solve and that an AI would never get. And I think that's I'm not saying that should be the entire challenge, but I think it's a really fun concept of like some of the challenges are just pen testy, hackery bits that AI can rip through, but they're really hard, basically impossible without AI. And then also having some super simple, like, an example is linear thinking. So like if you ask Claude, okay, I have a shirt on my, I have a shirt outside that's going to dry in 1 hour. If I add 9 more shirts, how long will it dry? And it will think it's 10 times longer because it's 10 more shirts. It's this still an hour because it's nonlinear.
Right.
Like AI doesn't think in that way. And so it's a fun concept of like how you design a challenge that's resistant to LLM style thinking.
So
You could
Anyway,
also make a
yeah.
challenge that involves analog clock faces. They still suck at that.
I want to put another alternative on the table, and I want you guys to think of it in terms of chess. Chess, by and large, has been pretty well solved by Stockfish. I mean, there's still room for improvement, but Stockfish is a open source chess engine that literally will beat Magnus, like the world's like the best chess player we've seen in history. It will beat him pretty regularly, right? But because we have Stockfish, doesn't mean that competitions like chess.com and speed chess challenges all of a sudden um, are not, how do I put this? There's more people playing chess now than ever before. And there's more competitions, there's more interest in chess. And the use of Stockfish at like chess.com and Chessly and all of these things has actually greatly improved the capabilities of human beings in playing chess. And if you're a CTF organization, I want to kind of put this out there as a thought. One of the things they do whenever they play chess competitions is they watch what you're doing on your chess game, and they can look at what you're doing. And if your move is always the top rated move from Stockfish, right? They detect that as cheating, or even in the top 3, and then they'll flag it. Like if you're not a grandmaster, they will investigate you and they will ban you for life. So one of the things that I've been playing with as a CTF challenge system going forward with Meta CTF is we don't let people use their computers to do the CTF. They log into Meta CTF, they use Guacamole, that video section is forked, and they're going through, and I'm not streaming their system, I'm not sniffing their packets. They're just going into a Guacamole instance in Amazon, and they're able to do the CTF only through that environment, through a Windows system and a Linux system that we give them. It's being streamed. We can have analysis of AI on the other side, and we can watch them solve these challenges. That's one of the thoughts that I have. My point is, this has been solved by chess. There were a bunch of people that thought chess was dead. Like there was no way that anybody would ever be able to beat computers, and AI is making it more interesting. But I'm just throwing this out there as a thought. If you have a CTF, people have to log into your CTF environment and do those challenges in a way that is streamed via Guacamole on a system that's not their personal computer system. And then we can use AI to analyze what people did. We can use AI afterwards. Like if you have a competition of people and say, here's the winner, look, they're running curl. Like, oh my God, there's a vulnerability in that version of curl. I think it gives us a lot of opportunities to make it more interesting. We just have to adhere to the fact that, just like Bronwyn said, I'm paraphrasing, shit's changing. We better change with it.
I think that's a separate category. That's my take.
You have like the human CTF.
Yeah, exactly. It's like sports. Like, dude, I race bikes and I don't race against fast people because I'm not fast. It would be a it would be the most boring race ever to have me race against a pro. They're just gonna crush me. Like it's like a different category. You have AI assisted CTF, you have human CTF.
Yeah.
2 different categories, 2 different approaches.
Prizes.
Different prizes.
I think the one thing I don't think we're discussing is the difference between a red team CTF and a blue team CTF. Like you guys, I think they're inherently different. And
I think that my approach would work for either.
I think no, I definitely agree. I do think your approach would work, but like that is the answer. But with like the one thing with the blue team backup, like what I've been doing is you make people not just write a report, but you have to explain to me how you got to that conclusion. Right? Because I have to provide evidence and provide you do stuff to it every time. If you can get the AI to help you provide that evidence and say why something is particularly important, like great, but you have to at least show me how you do it and how to do it. And I've been doing that with like junior analysts. Like, you can go ask Claude if this hash is anywhere in our environment. Yeah, but how would you do that in our SEM? Don't ask Claude. Show me, give me the query. Right?
Yeah.
Like,
here's the problem, though. If you do that for a CTF, you already lost half the CTF players because they don't want to write reports.
Good. Then those are the CTF players you don't want to hire, right?
If they don't want to write reports, they don't have a future in this industry.
Education has had sort of the same issue, right? Where it's like, how do we stop people from cheating on their test? It's you use their machine or you do it in person and somebody proctors you. Like, that is the only way to get around the cheating.
Yeah. And there's 3 categories then. There's one CTF where you have to write reports. That already fixes the AI problem. Seriously, I genuinely think it does.
If there's a single M dash.
Yeah, I was going to say, like,
just one. We know you did not use Word.
I guess what I would say is, like, so, like, we're looking inwards at BHIS. how do we hire? We don't just see like, oh, you want a CTF? Here's your job. Like, obviously, we have CTFs could do the same thing of being like, there are CTFs that are more reporting based and not based just purely in score. Then there's like the non-AI assisted category, which John was talking about. Then there's the AI assisted. It's like the open category. It's like, let it rip, baby. How many tokens you got? Like, let's go.
What if we did it like they did the CTF, and at the end we do like the UK master's thesis defending approach, where you
Yeah.
get the three teams Jeopardy
Yeah.
style, and it's like, on this challenge you used curl, Can
Why?
explain? And then they have to be
AI.
like, well, we were using these options. This is why we said
Because of
that, this is
AI.
what we did. And that's what universities and high schools are doing. They're like, write your paper with AI. And we're going to grade it knowing that you're using AI. So we expect no grammatical errors. We expect dead and jashes. But then when you're graded, you have to get in front of the class and answer questions about your paper.
In Forensics 508, not to like at the end you do an II report, right? You have to go all the way through it. Then you have to present it. And that's usually when the teams fail, is when the presenting happens. And like, I found this. I found this hash. It's everywhere. Well, why?
So Shane, do you play a lot of CTFs out of curiosity, or have you in the past?
I played a little bit here and there, but not as much. I helped work on some of those indirectly through just kind of like the prompt side of it. Like, here's what I want to do. And I also teach a class on ethical hacking. So some of that plays a role in there. But some of the things you can get around with it, like my password hacking or cracking one of the nuances they have to do is you have to tell me how long it took you to actually crack each password. How much time? AI is not going to necessarily tell you that. And then it's the difference between a rainbow table and an actual just hashing your, going through the hashes. So you can trip them up that way. But I agree with what John was saying about where you could kind of like have a closed environment, like almost like Citrix is the first thing I thought of when he was saying that. You're in that like domiciled bubble and you can only do what's there. So then that puts you in a position to where, and then the other thing I was thinking, if you're doing that, like what I think Hack in the Box does it, where it spins up little virtual machines and you have to go, you can't just point an AI at that and start digging in. The last thing was one of my other cohorts, what he does with he has a physical part to it. What I mean by that is some of the flags that you get in there.
You gotta arm wrestle Dave Kennedy for this next play.
He has a small,
It's like Double Dare on Nickelodeon. There's less line now.
They do that at DEF CON too. So not for the CTF, but for like the RF Village and other things like that, where they have like rabbits and other things like that. So essentially it becomes a scavenger hunt, a real life scavenger hunt, not a digital one. And so when you put that piece in there, then that can slow people down. Except for then what you'll end up building though is runners. So what ends up happening is you get tasked off to that work. Another thing too that I thought of was making a system that you had to go in to manually enter the answer. So there's some physical process so that you can't brute force that answer, right? You can't just ask it over and over again. That's another way to prevent the system from essentially getting a feedback loop where it can find the value where someone.
Yeah, you're basically fuzzing the freaking applicant.
Yes.
I'm teaching an intro to operating systems course for a college right now, and they have one of those labs where you have to log in and do all the stuff, right? And everyone was having a really hard time with the labs. And I'm like, oh, I wonder if I could just have Claude do all this for me. Claude couldn't do it, not because it couldn't figure out the labs, but because the questions of the labs were written so bad that it couldn't figure it out, and I couldn't figure it out.
So you're calling it the ISC squared methodology. This is a horrible pepping question.
Okay,
right.
so
I want to move on to Linus. Can we go to Linus Torvalds? And he's talking about, once again, it's AI slop. And he's got two beautiful things that I think are amazing in this article. Thing one, he said, if you use AI to find vulnerabilities in the Linux kernel, odds are somebody else already has. Like, don't bother to resubmit it. And number two, he said, and I love this approach, he said, our submission guidelines are you find the bug, but you also have to submit a code solution to solve that bug. And he said that just washes out like a huge percentage of the submissions that are coming through. He didn't seem as salty as I thought he was. Like, I thought for sure he was going to be like, FAI, F all of you.
If you
because
if you want to use
AI
your credits and your money to do the job, that's great, right?
he used AI to read all the responses and ask how many were BS, and 99% of them were BS. So he's like, yeah, I mean,
Fight fire with fire.
Yeah, fight fire with fire. Like if you just set these simple guidelines, like it has to have a patch, it has to be passcode, it has to, meet our guidelines. How many submissions are left? 6. Okay. Like great. But yeah, I mean, also,
love it.
Behind the scenes, like I'm just going to go ahead and speculate that Torvalds and the Linux crew got access to Mythos pretty early on.
Yeah, I'm willing to bet.
Like I'm guessing, like if I made a model that was good at bug hunting, I'd be like, Linux, where are you, Linux? Like I need to fix you right now. Like that, it's the easiest thing to pull apart and fix. It's also similar to curl, where this is battle hardened code, guys. This is not. I mean, there was copy fail. There have been some fun, spicy ones recently, but Linux is hardened. It's been tested a bajillion times by a bajillion different people, and it's not just easy to, hey, Claude.
Yeah,
I'm going away for the
I'd say the
weekend.
only downside is there's so many contributors, and that's really where usually the bugs come up, right? When you have a ton of people all contributing, and then you have to validate and all the other fun stuff. So, I mean, that's why there keeps continuing to be bugs, right? But humans, right? Weird.
True. All right, let's segue to the next article. John wants to talk about a new Roomba that he's going to buy.
The new Roomba.
The new Roomba.
The Rumble Roomba from Germany.
Rumble Roomba.
So this is a great story, and it's kind of terrifying, but I think it's good. So Germany is flooding Ukraine. I think flooding is a bit overselling it, but there's hundreds of.
There is some mud in the picture, so it's fine.
There is some mud in the picture. They call them GEREON combat robots. And
isn't it called like the Roomba Schnackenstocken or some shit like that?
But it's funny because, I think it's good because it allows them to get supplies to the front line and certain things that, you wouldn't want to put humans at risk and actually doing these things. It's kind of getting away from AI, but it's tangentially associated with it. But it's just kind of showing the evolution of technology. And this is now the robot side of it. And the reason why I'm excited about this as a security practitioner is it's more stuff to test. Like I just cannot wait to get one of these in the office, and I'm in the radiology room where if it gets tested, it's going to be in here because I have lead-lined walls in this, so there's no signal leakage out of this room. But I want to get you guys' take on this. I think it's good that maybe we have fewer people in harm's way, but then again, the guy that invented the machine gun thought it would lead to fewer deaths. And he was wrong.
Well, what are you saying? People are going to get run over by the Robo-Roomba?
So, okay, John, instead of having a riding mower, you're at one of these robots and ride it in Sturgis.
Bronwyn, I love you. You need to talk to my wife. And subtly drop, John's birthday is coming up. And he needs a Rambo Roomba.
I think this war is really interesting because what do you call it? We're getting to see modern warfare developed in real time, and it's wild, right? Like the Ukraine war is a modern day battlefield, right? Drones, the new robot that carries, or other, like, this is all happening, and because they're fighting in this new battlefield, and they're developing it on the fly. The wildest part of this, though, is not just security, as you mentioned, John, right? But also just the rapid development and the non-reliance on China and other countries to develop technology so you can actually fight a war, right? It's pretty wild. Anyways.
The folks in Ukraine have been brilliant as far as I'm concerned. Their adaptability.
Why haven't we seen one of these?
Their resilience.
We haven't seen any of these in video games. Like we've seen plenty of robots running around, but not one that's like bringing you ammo, right? Like, right?
Like, Battlefront 2? Come on, man.
Did they have a bot that brought you ammo in the newest Battlefront? I don't think so. I don't remember.
In the old one.
In the old one, but
Okay, has anyone seen, this is kind of off topic, but it's also very much on topic. Has anyone seen the videos of like the Coco delivery robots, like just crashing?
Oh my God.
Crashing and causing chaos?
Yeah.
Okay, so like if you haven't been exposed to this on the internet, I'm sorry, but you're in for a treat when you go hunting for this. But just go on YouTube or TikTok or wherever you go and search Coco robot fail. COCO, and just watch the videos of these. They're basically like delivery bots, that just fail in the most hilarious ways of just like falling down stairs, driving into floods, driving into tunnels.
I love.
Don't forget the empty Waymos that are terrorizing the towns in Georgia.
My
So
favorite
the question
Coco
is
fail
is this
is
going to be what
somebody
we
ordered
see?
food to be delivered in like underneath an overpass on an interstate in like a tent city with a bunch of homeless people. And it was just like the dichotomy of what's being like what that's showing is pretty hilarious.
And then
So that's the
sort of
question: is that going to be like? Are we going to see videos of Russians just watching a robot like fail to deliver ammo for like 17 hours, or is it going to be actually useful? Like, we'll see.
I don't know. I mean, the other
You
thing
know,
is every time you show those videos of these Cocos getting destroyed and obliterated, I think it's just helping Coco stock. Because the one thing that I take out of this is these things are put together pretty damn well. Like,
yeah.
So they can
And I
drive
think
into floods. They can get run over by cars.
part of it with the drones will always rely on the humans that operate them to an extent, right? Like there was that video I think that I saw last week where somebody had deployed this new like farming drone and they took it off from like a street. And so they take off and start to move across the road towards the farm and it's immediately run into by like a by a big truck and sent into like a bunch of
Oh
pieces.
no.
Like
saw that.
Yes, I don't know. I mean, this is. I will say, like, anytime for something like this, you can place a human that's potential lives saved, but also,
Yeah.
is it going to, or is it going to be like, as I ordered ammo like 17 hours ago, and it just says its tracking number is missing, and
Your
well, we got to
Coco's
get
en
Amazon
route.
Prime over there,
Your
man. That's the
Coco's en
solution.
route.
your Coco
Dude.
has been rerouted. Oh no!
Those Amazon delivery bots that like fly over people's houses and drop a parachute of top ramen at your house for you, like
I'm so excited for that.
The future is here. All
I
right,
gotta
next
say,
article.
like,
We may not have our flying cars yet, but we got.
I just
flying
imagine John
delivery
out there with like
soon.
a directional antenna trying to hack as it flies by, right? Like drop package, drop package,
drop
drop
package,
package.
drop
Like,
signal, drop signal. Yeah, I once again I love this stuff because if we go back to around Christmas, I was like, man, the rate of AI improvement in like October, November last year was just off the charts, right? And there was a lot of fear in the industry and even internally. People were like, what does this mean for us? There's so much more technology and there's so many ways, just like Bronwyn was talking about. It's just going to be applied in so many ways that we haven't even thought of yet. That hey, we're going to need security and all that shit. And it's job security, y'all. Like, and Bronwyn also mentioned if any of you are listening to this and you're like, well, we're going to cut back our staff because AI is going to save us money, you are wrong. You are so wrong and you're going to get hit hard. I don't care if you're in offense. I don't care if you're in defense. You can't look at this as like, well, we need fewer humans in security now. Maybe if you're in the food delivery industry, your job may be at risk. But in security, it's going to be wild times. Just remember, chaos is a ladder.
Yeah.
So,
it'll let your people
okay.
do more and faster, but
Yeah, break more stuff faster.
But
Make-
restrict their
make more
tokens.
yeah.
problems.
But
There
I
was
need
a
to
post-
restrict their tokens.
There was a
somehow.
post about that this week where it was talking about as you get down the AI pipeline and you use AI to build or develop, you are building yourself into like this position where you have so much like tech sprawl and tech debt and all these different pieces that there comes a point where if you stop using AI, you are toast. So as you're building out these processes, you're building so much more work for yourself that you can't get away from.
But that goes back to what we've talked about in the past about the coming SaaS apocalypse. And I saw other articles that flat out said SaaS is dead. I can't remember who said that this last week. But if you
John,
Google-
AI is SaaS, dude. Not to burst your
But
bubble.
that's my point. If you're looking at SaaS as like a company that you produce a service and somebody can rebuild that SaaS product from scratch with an internal team, like the idea of buying SaaS from a third-party vendor, spending potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars for something to be internally developed, this gets back to Hayden's point. If you now have this code base where all of a sudden we have an explosion of software being written, and this is one of the things that I don't think that people understand about AI, is whenever you're using AI to write code, it's using a part of its quote unquote brain that's completely effing disconnected from the security code analysis part of its brain. Those are trained on two completely different data sets. And we've seen a lot of different stories where people will have code written by AI And then they'll use that same AI to evaluate the code for security vulnerabilities and find multiple critical vulnerabilities in it. So once again, I think it's just great. There's a lot of explosion of cool stuff happening.
Yeah. So a couple quick hits since we kind of spent a lot of time talking about AI. First of all, there's a BitLocker 0-day.
Oh my God, I heard about that.
That we kind of forgot about. Basically, if you have physical access to a system and it's using BitLocker, you can put a file on a USB drive, throw it in there, boot into recovery, and get a command prompt on that.
All from a
system.
USB stick.
Yeah.
Now, a couple of quick things about this. You can't do it from a cold boot state, like where the system is starting up from cold.
No, you can. No, absolutely.
You can.
Cold.
Yeah,
No, but if it's been down for a while, the memory state goes out, from what I've been reading.
Well,
Look, there's a difference between standby and completely shut down. Whenever you're looking at Windows computer systems and you go back to cold boot attacks, you go to FireWire attacks, and I think this one too. If this system is completely powered down and there's no suspended state, I don't think that this works. At least that's what I read in one of the testing. But if the system is in standby mode and it comes back up, then you can actually go through and you can bypass it. So that's interesting. But the real question I want you guys to get, do you think this was intentional? Do you think this was a backdoor that Microsoft put in?
Yeah, I think it's a backdoor of the Microsoft.
Okay. I'm going to go with no. People were like, oh, the bug bounty researcher themselves said, I just can't see any other explanation. I was like, dude, is this your first Microsoft bug? Like, not to diminish the capabilities of this person. I'm sure they're way smarter than me, but like, dude, this is their bread and butter, is putting features in and forgetting to take them out, and then those features having vulnerabilities in them. But also, that's arguably plausible deniability for a backdoor, so it is what it is. I think it's, we'll never know.
Ralph, what
I
did you
think
say?
Microsoft
Ralph,
knows,
you
and he's
said
currently
you
being
thought-
escorted out.
Ralph thought it was intentional. Why do you say that?
Yeah, I mean,
Law
because
enforcement?
it looks trivial, like the actual attack path. I didn't see anything like, because John, you mentioned that the system has to be on, and the actual key is in the TPM, right? So that's in the TPM module, and so it has to be on the same.
Wait, we're putting these keys in the TPM reports?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes,
sure.
the
They're in the
TPM reports
computer.
they're overdue, John. They're overdue.
Oh my.
So the keys are there, and on that device when it boots and it realizes that the order has changed, then it prompts. Windows does, but this attack essentially bypasses that prompt and allows you to get access to the C drive. There's a bit more into it, but functionally that's how it works, right? And there have been other arguments about just storing anything on the TPM because there's no actual password for the TPM. It's just validating that nothing has changed on the operating system before it releases that key from the module, right?
Yes.
But there are ways to implement second or two-phase authentication in the TPM where you can actually have a password that's required more than just being like the same hardware. So yeah, that's. But I think it was on purpose. And the CIA is going to be upset that they have.
I think that Microsoft's
been
been selling magic USBs for a hot second.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the security researcher says that they have another vulnerability similar to this one that they're planning on releasing. I think.
Oh yeah, this
later
person
this
is
week.
popping off. I guarantee you, they just had a bad experience with MSRC, and we're like, you know what? We'll see how I can MSRC.
Well, look, MSRC is very timely. They're responsive. They're consistent in the way that they communicate with security firms, and they take vulnerabilities that they take it seriously.
There is.
Listen,
so
John.
I do have two recommendations if you actually want to stop this from a physical hardware attack, because we implement this on our own devices that we ship out. So the two things you need to do is first implementing a BIOS password, right? That's
epoxy or USB ports.
That was my answer.
BIOS password. All right.
Yeah, so BIOS password. Another and the second level way to lock this down is using Secure Boot. Now, people don't realize actually how Secure Boot works, but one of the functional ways that Secure Boot can work is that you can designate your own keys that you actually create and put into the BIOS, and the operating system will not even boot without those keys in existence, right? The BIOS will totally say, no, I'm not going any further. I don't care what USB drive or any other thing. The only way to disable that is to go into the BIOS, and if you have a BIOS password, ipso facto, it's not booting, right?
Yep.
Well, okay. So, John, to take a serious, like, honestly, MSRC people, if you're listening to this, you guys need to start using AI.
It's okay.
Well, they're
Some
using
jobs it's fine.
Copilot as the
Like you guys need to like, come on, get access to Chat GPT. Like, come on, guys, start processing the bugs, or else. Like, yeah. I mean, I think if we're being honest, the threat vector from physical access is already pretty limited. The amount of information that can be stored in one system is pretty limited. Like this is kind of an edge case. It applies mostly to industries that have crown jewels on their endpoints. Like it's like legal, government. The high sensitivity environments.
But going back to like the intelligence community and DoD, like field expedient, like forensics,
physical access, man.
This is a huge thing, especially if you're in the military, in the field like straight up physical access, bypass authentication controls. Like that's something that we've used for years and in a variety of different ways. I kind of lean towards Ralph on this one, that it was intentional, and I agree, Corey. Like I'm not 100% certain, but it also doesn't apply for Windows 10. Is that correct? I don't like this.
Yes, this is your reason to go
Windows 11.
revert.
Yeah,
you got to revert
Windows
back
11.
to Windows 10 now.
But that's what makes me like argue with myself, right? That it wasn't an intentional thing, because if you really wanted to have utility to the CIA and you wanted to have utility to the NSA, and more particular, if you wanted to have utility to operators in the military and JSOC, you would want it to work in Windows 10.
Well, yeah, but they probably have a different USB for Windows.
Okay, that's fair point. Fair point.
That's not a
Fair
yellow
point.
USB.
Yep.
It's a red USB.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, which one do I use?
Yeah.
It's a different color. Cut the red wire, John.
Yeah.
So
They don't want.
no, it's just a
honestly,
wild
Microsoft
story.
got rid of the red USB because they want everyone to move to Windows 11. That's why.
That's what they're
Okay.
doing.
So as far as the Canvas breach, any big updates on that? Has anyone
I
followed
don't
that
think
one
there's
closely?
been anything new, has there? Like we still don't know how they got breached in the first place. I mean,
They paid,
had a-
they're in.
They paid. That's the big news. They did pay, and they're reached an agreement or whatever to not have the data released. We'll see if that actually holds, or if someone leaked it, or who knows. But
Well, supposedly they deleted the data, but
did they run
hackers-
shred-n7, or did they just put it in the
Is
recycle
it a
bin and forget
DoD
to
wipe
empty
or
it?
not?
Oops.
I don't know. I do know some people who are dealing with that with the community colleges in California. So
I've heard rumors that they paid up to $10 million.
yikes!
And
That's not that much. That's actually
No,
like
it isn't,
Weren't they asking for like $2 million per school?
yeah, it was like
like
$9
$9
million.
$10 million?
or something.
They cut a deal.
That's only 5 schools. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. It's a bummer because I almost guarantee you that $10 million is going to go to absolutely no one. Like that's going to that's not actually buying any security. But I understand,
No.
like they've kind of dropped it. They dropped the ball a few times, so it tracks that they would also pay the ransom. But who knows? Behind closed
I'm just
doors,
glad
I'm sure
my
there was a
alma
lot
mater
of
doesn't
discussion.
use Canvas.
Really, I want my records to be breached. That's my
it's
favorite.
just easier for me to
thing.
get my shit when I inevitably spill coffee on my computer. It's just
Yeah, it's way easier. I like to back up my data on all the ransomware clouds. That's typically where I put it.
and it's safe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It-
There was a couple of like non-starter articles that we thought were really dumb that we should call out.
Please do it. Please do it. Please do the
Well,
ones.
wasn't there
One.
the
was
Pan
one of
OS.
This
we had-
TechCrunch.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah,
The
okay,
one from the
so
sun.
there was one that somehow yeah, I don't know. Apparently, like some lady's nudes leaked, and somehow that's newsworthy. I don't know why, but I don't know.
It had to do with their clients, but yeah, we don't.
It's
need
like
to go-
Android spyware. Also,
Yeah.
there's an article that like Claude, when you install it, and installs spyware. It's just like someone who doesn't know what spyware is writing that article. I
every
don't know.
time.
Well,
Every time.
It's like if the
Yeah.
provider that you installed their software you can use the software to control it, which is spyware, but that's also the product you're paying for. So it's like I installed AnyDesk, and I think it's an RMM tool, guys. Like, holy crap.
Well, we also had the DigiCert breach. I don't know if we talked about that last week. Their
that was
ED
like
code
that
signing.
was at least 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, that was a while
We
ago.
did.
So-
They had a good write up.
There was the gas tanks. Like supposedly people were claiming that Iran was messing with gas tank monitoring, which had no authentication. And basically what they were doing is just, I guess, lying about how much gas there was in the tanks, of being like, actually, there's no gas. Like I don't really see the.
I think they were
upshot of
saying that
one.
if the gas tanks have false readings, they can potentially explode when you fill them
or
up too much.
overfill or whatever.
Yeah,
it's like
overfill
the,
or something
the
like
classic like
No.
specter of what could be possible with OT hacking, but didn't actually.
But that's
happen.
that's like 80% of like the bad DEF CON talks, where it's like,
Totally.
theoretically, if I can hack your toaster, I can burn you. And it's like,
if you just stick
okay.
your hand in your toaster for
Or-
20 to 30 minutes.
all the conferences you go to, and there's some jackass running around with a Flipper Zero opening up the charge ports on all the Teslas. It's like, oh God, this shit again. But it's, but stun hacking does have its place. It absolutely does.
It does. The train thing
I
was
think,
cool.
by the way, hold on.
Yeah, do the
Brian-
train one. Do
hold
the
on.
train one.
I want to talk. Brian thinks that we're attacking him, and I would just want to call out, Brian, you did a great job. I know you're correlating the news stories by the community, and we appreciate that. We aren't saying anything about you and the job you're doing. You're doing a great job, Brian. I just want to call that out. So, all right.
Yay, Brian.
Yeah, I guess let's have Shane plug his stuff. Shane, what you got coming up?
Shane, take it away.
So I am going to be delivering a presentation in June for the threat hunt space that you all are putting on. Specifically, I'm kind of setting the course for you have no idea what you're doing. You're beginning to kind of get started, and what's next? Many of the clients
Feels relatable.
tend to have that whole, "Hey, just find bad. I've got a Splunk instance. Go to town," and that's. Find bad is like the worst statement you can give me, because if I find bad, you're going to have a bad day. And I don't like to work from that direction. I like to work a little bit more structured. So that's kind of the beginning of it. I can go into more details, or if you have questions.
So you use stats and then sort by least common log. And then there you go.
No, I think you just literally grep bad.
Found bad. Event
Grep for
ID
asshole.
666. We found Satan.
Yes.
I misread whenever they were talking about your talk. I misread it as threat hunting after dark. And I gotta say, saxophone solos were playing in my head. I'm like, this is gonna be
super cool. It's like you're either going to grab a bottle of bourbon or you're going to grab a can of balls and get started.
Exactly. So my question is, and I know the answer is both at some level, right?
Sure.
Is this kind of designed for talking to like potential customers, kind of letting them know what they need to be prepared for an incident, or people that are truly trying to learn threat hunting, or is it some combination of both?
Probably a little of both, but it's more on the threat hunt side. What we're getting on our side is we're getting a lot more calls about, hey, we have this team that we want to start up, or we have this telemetry. How can we look at it? And starting to build that, but all they know is alert, detect, and that kind of environment. They don't know how to actually do hypothesis drawing and instead of that, just react. That's the only thing they know.
And I think that's a huge problem, right? Like whenever I talk about threat hunting, a lot of people think, well, we have a SIM, we have an EDR, we're getting alerts. And I think you're starting with the base, like presumption that the type of attacker you're going for is bypassing those particular security controls. Whether they're on a device that doesn't have the telemetry or you're dealing with some advanced adversaries. And I think for me personally, that's like a huge mind shift away from detection and alert tuning logic to you're actually, like you said, coming up with a theory and you're going and hunting for more advanced adversaries. Is that kind of the way you look at it as well?
Yeah, advanced adversaries as well as just dumb stuff that's on the network that like, how do you actually know you have all of your assets covered? How do you know? You go, I have a SIM. Okay, you've got a SIM. What are you using to? You got an EDR. Did you cross-reference them to see if your SIM actually has the same number of assets reporting as what you have in your EDR? If you don't,
My secret. I don't tell people that.
That's proprietary information, Shane. You're sharing all the secret
You go to a
tips.
job, you cross-correlate, and you're like, hey, we're missing 10,000 agents. They're like, what?
Dude, don't laugh. That literally happened to us last week.
I won't say anything. No.
It happens all the time. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean? 30% of our environment has no EPP or EDR? It's like those words you just said, or what I just said to you.
Exactly. Or what do you mean there's 2003 on the network? Come on.
Oh, that's the best.
I had one of those not too long, last year, actually. But yeah, getting
I
to
like
that
how these
and then building them up
conversations
from there.
eventually devolve into drinking. It's like, okay, the worst network I ever saw, crack. Okay, it's going to take a shot of whiskey to get through this one. It's
Yeah.
just like Defenders, man. So,
All
all
right.
right. Well,
On
we're
that note,
over.
yeah, Wade has stuff. Ralph has stuff. There's other stuff to plug, but they'll be probably here next week to plug their stuff.
More than
So.
likely.
Probably,
We've got
yeah.
no
More
place else
CTI
to
classes.
go.
Come take
Yeah,
CTI stuff. Have fun.
John, aren't you like doing a webcast this week or something?
I am. The webcast is basically how we're doing AI wrong and looking at AI incorrectly, and it has a lot to what we talked about today, where people are like, it's going to save money, it's going to be more efficient, it's going to solve security. It's like all of that crap's not true, and it's going to be a roundtable. We're going to get a bunch of people from BHIS, and I'm probably just going to do it without slides. Just bring up news stories and kind of talk about it in terms of like, what can we take from this as far as trending. And then I'm also going to talk a lot about at BHIS on the offensive side, Corey, stuff we've talked about, where it's like, we truly thought that AI was going to make us like faster at doing our jobs. And instead, it's just adding a lot more work. And that's good because that's where humans need to be in the loop. Or another example is people look at AI and they're like, well, I'm going to buy a tool that's going to do an automated pen test, but they lose context and understanding of what that, and it just becomes another noisy dashboard tool demanding their attention. And how we need, once again, like Bronwyn said, humans in the loop. You're just with AI, you're moving the bottleneck. If you're using it to develop code, great. You can code, let's say, 100 times faster. You're moving the bottleneck to QA, QC. You're moving the bottleneck to deriving the requirements. You're moving the bottlenecks. And we've just got to understand that humans are still required in this as well. For now, anyway.
All right. On that note, we'll see you all next week. Thanks for coming.
Later,
Hope your cloud
everybody.
usage resets prematurely.
Later.